Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, do I have a story for you. Wow. This is a story about a party that I did at the Cock Bar in New York City. Now, yes, the Cock Bar. The place had a red rooster outside, and we couldn't put up a sign, the cock, but you know, a rooster is a cock, blah, blah. It was a play on words, right? So I did a weekly party there from 1997 or 98 to 2013. People think that I left the music business and I just went off into obscurity. I was a very busy little twisted boy, and I held one of the most notorious New York City parties that ran every week for 15 years, which made me the longest running party in New York City club history, which is a really big thing because most parties last 6 months, maybe a year if you're lucky, and I ran 15 years, and we did it all under the police's nose. And I'll tell you the story in a second. I got to give you the backstory on it, and something very, very, very special. If you watch this video at the very end, there's going to be a link that takes you to actual footage of my party. I had to block out penises in it. That's how wild my party was, with naked go-go boys and all kinds of crazy stuff going on. So if you can't deal with this kind of material, it's a hidden private link. You can't search for it. Don't go there. But if you want to see, it made Caligula look like Mary Poppins. Let's put it that way. Well, Caligula was an orgy. This was an orgy. This was a club night, and we would have freak shows. So it made Caligula look like I said, like a Disney movie. All right, backstory. I worked at a bar in New York City called Lepore, L-U-R-E, which was leather, uniform, rubber, etc. I wasn't into rubber and uniforms, so I wouldn't dress in like leather outfits. So they banished me to the coat check room, which was really great because you'd have something like 400 coats on a busy weekend, and you'd get, you know, $2 tip and $3 for the, you know, it's $3 for the coat, and people give you $5, you had $2 tip. So, you know, we'd walk out of there with $800, you know, for one night. It was great, right? So they had a Wednesday night party called Pork. And pork was, well, if you were called a pig in gay sex life, that means you were really good in bed. Oh, he's a real pig, you know what I mean? He likes sex so much he can't get enough, he's a pig. It was sort of like a compliment, right? You know, it was a man-whore compliment. And they did a party called Pork. And it was kind of like what I call an art fag party. Decor, decorations, artists, different displays. And it was really cool with the hip, underground, gay, you know, crowd and stuff like that. And a couple of famous people went there and all that kind of stuff. Towards the end, the bar was losing its steam. It ran for several years. I think Pork ran for 10 years. And then it kind of just, you know, the bar lost its steam and the party was kind of dying out because the bar was dying out. And Pork was run by Clint, Doug, Craig, and Alejandro, these four guys. Well, I became friends with Clint when I worked at the Lamar, and he said, well, the party's dying, I want to start something else. There's a bar opening up in the East Village called The Cock. And I went, The Cock? He goes, yeah, I mean, it's Red Rooster, but that's what we call it. I said, oh, okay. He says, I want to do Pork, but something new over there. What do we call it? And I said, well, I don't know. What could we call it? He goes, well, I want it to be kind of like a new beginning. And I said, why don't we use the word sperm? I mean, it's obviously a loaded word, no pun intended, you know, but our original logo was a guy, you know, curled up like a fetus in like an egg or a sperm. I can't remember one or the other. What happened, monkey? He farts and then gets scared and runs away. Monkey, are you okay? My baby, come here. It was only a fart. It's okay. Don't be afraid of farts. Monkey wants to be in the video again. We decided to call the party Sperm, a new beginning. And the guys from Pork gave us all kinds of stuff to decor the bar with. We had camouflage netting and giant sheets of plastic and canvas and art and all this kind of stuff. And every Sunday We would go into the bar at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the place was a complete dump. And in the video I'm going to show you, you're not going to believe what a dump it was. They stopped. It was so bad in there they didn't even have a janitor. I mean, it was the biggest dump in the world, which made it really cool. It was kind of like that Roadhouse, you know what I mean, where you spit on the floor and you throw a beer glass against the wall, but not that kind of violent. It was the gay version of it. And the Cock opened like November, I think, of 97, 98, and 2 months. In January, we came in and we took over Sundays. They were looking for somebody to take over each night. And the Cock is owned by a straight guy named Alan, and there was a guy, Mario Diaz. The Cock used to be, I can't remember the name of the place, but it was like a really bad coke hangout where people were slinging guns and stuff, and the owner wanted to do something about his bar, and he said, why don't you turn it into a gay bar? There's never any fights. Maybe somebody gets bitch slapped, you know, and says a few words about their decor or what outfit they're wearing, but that's about as violent as it gets. You only need one security guard, not 10. You don't have to worry about all the craziness. Little did he know. So Mario took over the place. Clint went over and talked to him. Mario knew of pork, and I was nobody. I didn't go around telling people I was Man Parrish. I was just Manny, and they didn't know I had my record out. I kept that very underground, and I had just started DJing, by the way. And he said, okay, let's give you Sunday night and see what happens. We started decorating the place. We got the keys to the place. We get in at 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday and decorate till 5 or 6 o'clock at night. And I bought lasers. I bought lasers that were illegal in the US. I mean, they literally could have burnt your retinas out. Now you gotta remember, you're in a small storefront. Just picture a small storefront with low ceilings. I made it look like Studio 54 in there. I had mirror balls. I had, those computer-controlled lights, which I had a computer and program lights every day. We covered the place in chiffon one day and then wrapped it in black vinyl plastic, and then it was all camouflage netting. And one time we did Alice in Wonderland, where when you came in, the floor went down to a rabbit hole, and you had to crawl through this little box that we made with strobe lights and Alice in Wonderland and giant stuffed bunnies on AstroTurf just to get into the club. And we had a little side entrance so the drag queens didn't have to crawl on their knees. They could just slip in. The party quickly became incredibly notorious. The legal capacity of the room was 78. We would typically put 300 to 400 people in there on a Sunday night. It was outdoing the Friday and the Saturday nights, and it created a lot of jealousy with some of the other nights. And what we got away with was murder. In the very beginning, they had a back room. They still, they had a back room up until a while ago, but they had a back room, and Mary Diaz was interviewed in a magazine called HX Magazine, Homo Extra, which was like a little magazine that put out all the gay bars, where to go to the next bar, had a bar hop, events that are going on. And they gave him the cover, and new bars coming called The Cock, and they said, well, we're here with Mayor Giuliani. He's very conservative in this town. How are you going to have a back room? And he said, fuck Mayor Giuliani. And I remember at the Lepore reading that, and I thought, oh boy, you don't say that. Sure enough, they closed us down for 2 months. They closed it down for another couple of weeks. The cops would come and raid the place. So they weren't allowed to do any like go-go boys. We had to put up a big sign, which you'll see a photo. I think the photo's in the video. It says we had to put up a no dancing sign by order of the New York City, one of the not the Department of Health or buildings or something like that, because you weren't allowed to dance without a cabaret license. This is all kinds of things that they use, health department, all kinds of ways to get back at us. But on Sunday nights, we knew that if they were going to raid us, they'd probably raid us by 10 or 11 o'clock when we just opened, there was nobody there. And by 1 o'clock, all good police officers on Sunday night were home screwing their wives. And what we got away with, which you'll see in that video, was unbelievable. I had 400-pound drag queens on trapezes swinging back and forth. We would do themed nights. One of the nights we did was tranny emergency room, where all the staff was dressed up like nurses. You'll see me in that thing. We stopped hiring people because people would just show up in crazy Halloween kind of outfits and mental institution outfits with nothing on underneath. They had like a hospital gown and buck teeth and crazy glasses, or some fright wig. The party quickly became clubhouse for the for the New York City underground and mentally ill. It was amazing. I mean, we had so many. Christina Aguilera came with bodyguards. Pink came, danced on the bar. Billy danced on the bar with Pink that night. I remember Britney Spears came up, threw up in the bathroom, and the bar said, "Why don't you take the vomit and put it in a plastic bag? We'll go sell it on eBay." You know. The air conditioning would always fail. The floor was made for 78 people, would buckle like this and move. And I thought, oh my God, the floor is going to collapse and cave in to the basement, and it would be all over the news. We packed the place like unbelievably. The guy upstairs from us hated fags. And he used to he cut a hole in the floor, and he would take one of those rubber hoses and put it on his bathtub, open the faucet, stick the hose down through, and it was right above the ceiling, and it would drip water. I remember we walked in one day and the water was just coming down, and we were opening up in 10 minutes. I said, what? We banged on the door, the guy's not there, couldn't get a hold of the landlord, there was no super, and we opened the night, and I remember people saying, oh my God, your setup this week is so amazing. How did you install that waterfall? In the meantime, that waterfall was loosening the ceiling. He did it all during the week, and the next week when we came back, we opened the door because we had to air the place out. It stunk so much. I mean, there was no janitor. I used to have to buy hydrochloric acid to pour it into the urinals to break up the urine crystals because it just stunk from a week of not being cleaned. But we cleaned that place. We bleached it out and cleaned it, and you'll see in the video how it looked in the beginning and what we turned it into. And we went out to have breakfast, like get a breakfast sandwich on the corner, and when we came back, the ceiling had collapsed. And had that happened while we were there, it would have killed us because the guy upstairs was pumping water down to flush us out. The air conditioner would fail when it was in the middle of the summer and it was like 100 degrees outside, and we'd have to turn down the music, put powerful fans in the doorway and get that fixed. The sound system always went out, but I always had great lights, lasers, and on top of it, there was a back room. I was one of the first people to put male go-go boys up on the bar in New York City, right? And I started, there was a rash of blackout parties. Me, started blackout parties. We would turn out all the lights in the club in a notorious club called The Cock. When you came to the door, the guy at the door had a headlight, you know, a little miner's cap. I was a DJ, I had a miner's cap, and the two bartenders, nobody else. It was pitch black. You would get a glow stick, and there'd be fabulous music playing, and a single laser shooting down the whole length of the club, doing some patterns in the air with a smoke machine, and that was it. You had to feel your way across, and every once in a while I would take a glow stick, open it up, and swing it around, and it would splatter all over the ceilings, the walls, and people, and it looked like stars shining. It was amazing. There were some people that were afraid to come in, you know, because you probably got groped and felt up. It was insane. And after one of the blackout parties, you'll see in the video, a guy by the name of Soigné Deluxe had gotten into the back. He was tripping on acid. We had black paint, water-based paint, you know, like kids paint. And he put it all over his face, pulled a stocking over his head, 2 flashlights in his head, and a ponytail. And he was walking around like in a jock strap, tripping his brains out. And he had pulled some of the black plastic off the wall and made a skirt out of it and went home that way. There's a very, very famous Broadway producer, which I won't say their name, but I'm sure they're going to be watching this. And he came up to me and he goes, man, I need your help. And I said, what? What happened? I won't mention his name, but he's done some very big things. In fact, he's doing something very, very big coming up for a major studio for Christmas. And I have a problem. And I said, what happened? You're a drunk. He goes, I lost my pants in the back and I can't find them. And I looked down and he's standing there in his underwear. And I said, hold on a second. And I had somebody go to the restaurant next door and get a tablecloth. They said, what do you need a tablecloth for? And I said, a very important patron of mine lost his pants. And we'd like to put the tablecloth around him and send him home in a cab, which we did. There used to be a line out the door to get into my party. It was truly amazing. It ran for 15 years, and there were so many crazy shenanigan stories. We'd have guys show up and just get completely naked, except for their sneakers, and just walk around in the party. I mean, I'd be DJing, and some guy would like walk past naked, and I go, did you see that? And the bartender goes, yeah, he like took his clothes off and walked around. I'm like, fine with me. We would get Go-Go Boys on the bar. We used to pay them $50 or something like that to come in every night. And we knew, well, they came in, they would get on at 12 o'clock, and the bartender would get them to, come on, have a Jägermeister with me. You know, they were up there, and the bartender would give them a drink. And, oh, no, I just want some soda. Come on, have a drink with them. And the bartender would feel them up and get them horny and rub their chest and their crotch. And, you know, these guys, the bartenders were hot. They took their shirts off and they thought, oh, he really wants me. And they'd start drinking. We knew if we got them loaded with Jägermeister, the bartender would keep filling them up, and eventually just go up to them and pull their underwear off and throw it over to me. And I'd toss it over to the doorman. The doorman would take it back to the bartender, to me, and I'd put it underneath the DJ console there, and they go, where's my underwear? Oh, don't worry, nobody cares, just walk around on the bar naked. So we got known after 1 o'clock for naked Go-Go Boys. So when people were in other bars on Sunday night, they all went to the Cock because my party was out of control. And the more and more people got drunk, I mean, we had customers blowing people on the bar. I mean, it was like, there was always a freak show, a sex show, a tranny show, just impromptu. People would just do shows, you know what I mean? At one point, some wonderful drag queen came up and gave me a CD and said, can you play this? I said, what do you mean? She goes, take your computer lights and just put them down the center of the runway. And they did, like, I think Lady Marmalade, you know, came out from, what was that movie? Yeah, I can't remember. It was really hot a few years ago. And just in the middle of the night, there was an impromptu drag show down the center with these 10 drag queens voguing and doing lip sync, and the crowd went crazy. Amanda Lepore is a very famous, body artist, is the best way I could explain her. She has so much makeup. She looks like a doll, like you see on one of those TV shows like Botched, where they're excessive lips done, plastic surgery. And her and Sophia Lamar, for my birthday, got up on stage, and they had little pasties on their nipples and tiny little G-strings, and their faces are like, they're, done. And they did, for my birthday, as a thank you, they did a balloon act where they were taking balloons and making little dogs, and here are these two amazing freaks doing these balloons. And at the end, they sit down on the bar stool, open their legs up, and pull about 30 feet of scarves out of their pussy for a finale. And people were screaming like, ah, this is so crazy. Quite a birthday party, huh? Yeah. Mike Ford worked on the door. He was amazing. You'll see in the video, every week I paid him to come in, and he would spend 4, 5, 6 hours a day or two putting on makeup for 3 or 4 hours and sewing together costumes. And he would do like killer gay clown, or he'd come in as an alien with 2 little lights blinking underneath, crazy glued, sunglass lenses, so they look like alien eyes, and he helped take money at the door. One day he came in as some twisted mental patient, and he would lift up this pretend skirt. He had a leotard underneath, but he had a baby's head coming out, and it was partial birth. He was giving partial birth right at the door. I put on a wig once and buck teeth and sunglasses and this frumpy outfit. And I came into the door and I went, I want to come in. And they said, I'm sorry, sir, you have to leave. And I created such a commotion. I started screaming, and I ran into the club, and they dragged me out, and the music stopped, and they were watching me, and I'm like, I want to have sex. I want to come down, cock. And the security guard's taking me, and the doorman's pulling me out, and I'm pulling on people as I'm going. And then I got up and I went, like Mission Impossible. I peeled it off, and I'm like, it's me. And of course, everybody applauded, and that was my entrance one night. So that ran 15 years. We had a fight once or twice with the owner, and we moved over to the boys' room. We moved over to Opaline, and then back over to the Cock when it moved to its second location. Now it's in its third location. And people still come up to the door and ask, is the son, no, people from Europe, we got guys from Germany. I talked to Irene, who works on the door, and yeah, people still come in and ask for your party on Sundays. I'm like, that was quite a while ago. And why did it stop? Well, on my 55th birthday, the owner called me up, and I thought he was joking. I remember I was in my car, and I said, hello. He goes, all right, you're done. And I said, we used to banter back and forth and, F you, and all that. I said, Don. He goes, yeah, we don't need you anymore. And I said, oh, yeah, right. So how you doing? He goes, I'm serious. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, well, you're done. That's it. I said, what did I do? He goes, you didn't do anything. I said, what are you talking about? I'm done. He said, you're too old, you're too fat, and you used up your youthfulness at the bar. Now, my Sunday party had not only kept the bar going, but made enough money for him to put his daughter into school on Fifth Avenue in a private school, because he told me this when he was drunk. So I said, are you kidding me? He said, I'm not kidding you. You're too old and you're fat. You're done. And that started a big war. We went at each other, you know what I mean? I told him I was going to have him shut down and all this and that kind of stuff. And, I knew the intimate details and so on because I fought back. Anyway, we're friends now. And the cock is still going, but it's nothing like it used to be. I was one of the original people that started the cock. It was Mario Diaz and Jackie Treat. Jackie Treat, right? No, Jackie Beat. I call her Snacky Treat. That's why I get that hooked up in my head. And Nisham Wooden, who was Mona Foote, Gant Johnson. There was like a core of us, and everybody had a night, and we built the reputation of that bar. Each night had a particular thing. One night, I think it was Saturday nights, were the local talent show, and you'd get up on stage. There was a drag queen called Krylon, and she would do these insane acts. I remember she became a human popcorn machine. She shoved a corn cob up her ass and spit popcorn out of her mouth. And once swept the stage with a broom in her butt. So this was the kind of high-class, tasteful acts, because my Sunday night was doing it, these other nights were doing it, and the place became a loony bin, and it was fucking fantastic. New York City, the epitome, the top of the crop of New York City craziness. I was around in the 70s, the 80s, and this was the late 90s, early 2000s, and it was the top of the bubble, and then that burst, and that was the end of it. I also remember 9/11 because we couldn't get to the bar for several weeks. The bar was on 12th Street and Avenue A, and from 14th Street south, you couldn't get in there because the city had blocked it off, the police had blocked it off for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then when we used to go in, I used to come out of the Battery Tunnel, across the bridge. The Battery Tunnel was closed. I crossed the Brooklyn Bridge, and you would smell, on the other side of Manhattan, you would smell the World Trade Center burning 4-6 months later. It smelled like a burning carpet. It had this chemical, plastic, horrible smell to it. They said that the inside of that was like a kiln. It was like 2,000 degrees or something like that, because everything was collapsed on top of it and the heat couldn't escape, so it became like this furnace for months and months and months. I saw pictures. I wonder if you can Google them. They may have taken away. New York City subway station down there, there were girders that fell through, like if this is the station, the ceiling, the walls, there were girders that stuck through, like somebody took a toothpick and put it into, a hors d'oeuvre or something like that. That was quite a trip. And I remember seeing the towers go down. I stood out at the water in Brooklyn and looked and watched it fall down. We were freaking out. Billy, who I'm with, stood on his rooftop and watched it. He was on 10th Street and B, and it sounded like he said it sounded like a glass chandelier. He watched it go down. But this is not about that. This is about the cock. Amazing, amazing time. And now I will put up a link to this private video. And if you're sensitive and you don't like adult themed stuff, stop now. If you want to see sick and twisted stuff, it's great. I even had I had painters that would come in. Ainer used to come in, he's covered with tattoos and a jockstrap, and just paint live artwork. And somebody would be doing performance art, and somebody was a contortionist, and just in the corner with a spotlight on doing, magic tricks, painting, contortion. It was really an art party. It was sex, yeah. And there was a back room, but I didn't want the party to be the back room. I just wanted to transform this small space week after week after week. We took up most of the basement. We had bags of fabric and camouflage netting and Each week I went out and I took profits and I bought new lights and upgraded the lighting. And when you were in there, if I turned all the lights on, it was like being, you know, at a mega club in a tiny little box. And the lights got so big I had to buy a computer just to control the lighting. And then we would take it down every night. At 4 o'clock when we closed, we would take all that lighting down, put it in the bags, and carry it down into the basement. Quite a trip, quite a trip. Well, thank you. I was the longest running, most insane party in New York City. It was called Sperm at the Cock Bar. And go take a look at that video. And I didn't disappear. That's what I did for 15 years after I stopped doing music. I needed to make money, and I had a lot of fun, and now you can see what's going on. I stopped about 7 years ago. Take care.